As soon as I stepped away from doing the leadership class or upgrade class at the school, it became a lot harder to replace myself and fill that position because... Welcome to a brand new episode of the Relentless CEO podcast. My name is Adam Kifer, and we're coming to you guys with a new version of the show. We are doing a Q&A today. So if you guys are following me on Instagram at Adam Kifer, or friends with me on Facebook, I posted my stories the other day asking for everyone to submit questions that I would answer on the show. So we're going to go step by step through these. It's a good mix of business questions, just like general martial arts school questions about running a school, and then a good amount of curriculum questions as well. So this will be great. If you guys are following me, look out for future stories of mine where I may ask for more questions. If you guys want to submit something for me to cover on here, you guys can also DM me any videos that you would like me to do a reaction of on the show if you watched last week's episode. But let's jump into this. First question, what are your thoughts on small business loans? So, I think it's a great question. I don't have anything against small business loans. I think for a lot of people, they can help a lot with the financing part. I think if you're taking out a loan, you need to have a pretty solid business plan, though, and a solid repayment plan to get back on track so you're not in debt, and always try and pay more of the premium than needed so you can pay it down faster. I think the problem that some people have with small business loans is they take it out and they don't have a plan in place of how they're going to actually generate revenue. They don't have business systems in place to help them to scale. So just something to think about. But I think if you have a solid business plan in place, there's nothing wrong with taking out small business loans. I know people that have built up to like 50, 60 locations in the fitness world where they'd use part cash flow from current locations, then part just taking out SBA loans to finance future locations. And the nice thing is you take out an SBA loan, you do the right amount of build out, get the right amount of TI money afterwards, and a lot of times using that TI money to pay back the SBA loan. So there's a lot of good ways you can structure it to make it beneficial for yourself. But I think they're a good tool. Right now probably isn't the best time with where interest rates are to get an SBA loan. So I would just keep that in mind as well. Okay, second question, how do you determine mat chats? I like this question. So mat chats are when we're doing pretty much life lessons on the mat with the students. For us, we've our first outlook of this is we had to realize, all right, how long do we want to focus on a specific life skill? And then what life skills are we actually going to incorporate? I think the easy way out for our industry is just to talk about all the buzzwords that have been around since the 90s. So self-control, discipline, focus, this is a horrible time to get hiccups. But all the buzzwords, perseverance, indomitable spirit, are those all relevant today, though? Is that my question for you? And not the concept of them, but the words themselves, and do they still equate to the same thing? And I think you also have to have a clear vision and purpose for what you want your students to look, feel, act, and sound like a black belt, and then work backwards to build your life skill and mat chat program around the qualities you want them to have as a black belt. So one of the things that we did that was really, really simple is I actually went into both our student group and I also went into a local parent group, so parents of Chandler, Arizona. And I posted a question in both groups and really just looked at the feedback that was coming through from our target audience. So I said, hey, what is one thing that you wish you learned at a younger age that you think would have changed the trajectory of your life? And that's what we asked. So all these parents are putting in the thing that they wish that they had learned earlier in life or just learned it all that maybe they were never educated on. And there is a lot of common answers to this. So emotional intelligence was one of the most requested one. Financial literacy was another one of the most requested items. Okay. And then self-worth. Okay, so like believing in yourself, valuing yourself was another one as well. And then mental toughness was another one. So a lot of them either mental toughness went with, like, they wanted to go into sports, but they didn't feel like they were tough enough to compete with the other people at their school. Or they gave up on a sport they wish that they stayed with because their parents let them quit, or they didn't have the mental toughness to push through the hard practices and stuff and have regrets about it. So those were some of the main answers. And then we really looked at the core of what were these parents asking for, and we built out a monthly theme for each month. Okay, so every month has its own theme. So like right now in all of our classes, we're talking about Be Relentless, which I know is ironic since this is the Relentless CEO podcast, but it's one of our 12 life skills that we focus on. And then what we do is we take those life skills, okay, and we create mat chats around them, weekly mat chats so 4 per life skill essentially. But then we also have separate mat chats for each age group. So we have a mat chat specifically for the 5 to 7-year-olds, specifically for the 8 to 12, and then 13 and older, because the lesson is going to be much different. The vocabulary you use when you're talking to them is going to be much different as well. And then we pre-write out these mat chats and have them ready for our instructors, so that way our instructors can put it in their own words really easy. Okay, if they are not super confident or a newer instructor and we're just sort of training them, okay, and giving them a chance to work on their public speaking in front of the class, and then they can just read it off, okay, and it'll still hit all the main points of the story. And then what we do that's a little bit different is we don't call them mat chats, we call them lessons from legends, okay, and for Be Relentless, we pick like 4 legends, okay, and we showcase how each one of those legends showed how to be relentless. So like for Be Relentless, we have the first week is on Rosa Parks, second is on Thomas Edison, third week is on Simone Biles, fourth week is Michael Jordan. Okay, and then when we roll to a new season, okay, financial literacy, okay, it's going to be lessons from legends on financial literacy. So I'm sure there's going to be some Warren Buffett quotes in there. Okay, I'm sure there's going to be some stuff from Dave Ramsey, but we're going to help educate that way. And then we are working on installing, so this will happen when we open the new location, monthly missions, okay, that we call move missions, that the kids will actually take home. They'll earn points for doing missions that are actually demonstrating the life skills that they're learning. So that's sort of how we've gone through and created that program. And if you're not really sure where to start with that, I would poll your parents and find out like, hey, what are the traits that you wish you learned, or ask them what are the traits that you think your child really needs to master in order to be a successful adult, or to have more success as an adult than you had. Okay, and get feedback from the parents, because literally they're going to be telling you exactly what they're looking for. Next question on upgrades. What do you feel is the best type of upgrade for our students? I'm assuming that you're thinking upgrade programs when you're talking about this question. So for upgrade programs, this is an interesting thing to think about, because I ran with one school of thought for a majority of my career in the industry. And then thanks to Jonathan Frank, I made a complete pivot, and I feel like a pivot in a much better direction that aligns with our purpose, okay, and our goal of creating millions of martial arts athletes around the world. So let's take a look at what we used to do for upgrades, okay? So our upgrade program, like many of you, is called our leadership program. And we would do like extra, more advanced martial arts curriculum that maybe myself, our instructors have learned that's not part of our core curriculum. Okay, so, and we did it in themes. So before, it was first 3-month theme would be like they're learning, Kali stick. And then the next 3 months, we're working on Taekwondo kicking. And the next 3 months, we're doing capoeira. And it would switch every 3 months. Okay, and then the class format would be, we'd do our 10 minutes of warm-ups, 15 minutes of like a interactive life skill drill, and then we'd do like 30 minutes of what are the core curriculum, and end with 15 minutes of board breaking, something like that. Now, here is why we moved away from that type of upgrade class. First and main reason is it's not scalable, meaning if we're switching types of curriculum every 3 months and we're doing like Kali and then capoeira and then Krav Maga or whatever, you need someone proficient in all of those different types of training to be able to come in and run those classes. So as soon as I stepped away from doing the leadership class or our upgrade class at the school, it became a lot harder to replace myself and fill that position, because I'd be like, oh, I want to do capoeira. Then I'm like, wait, my instructors don't know capoeira. Like, it just wasn't scalable. It was too reliant on me. So then I also thought, like, yeah, we're teaching them cool stuff, but is it really helping them to become a better martial artist? And then we also sort of went back to thinking about like, well, why do students join in the first place? Like, why do parents enroll them? Is it to be great at martial arts? Is it to, or is it more on the life skill side and that part of it? So we retooled all the life skill stuff that we're doing. Like for our financial literacy season that we do as part of our upgrade program now, like we actually ordered Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace Junior for all the kids. Okay, and we spend all 12 weeks going through that course and teaching them about finance, about investing. We do different financial games. So like one of the things that they do one of the weeks is they have to build a movie, a hypothetical movie. Okay, and we give them a specific budget, and then the more financial questions they answer correctly in between budget rounds, the more money they get. So like, for example, first round, they'll have to hire a director. Each director has pros and cons and different budgets, and they start with that. And the next thing is they have to hire their lead actor. There's different budgets, pros and cons, and so on. And they actually go through budgeting out a full movie production. Okay, and learning about, hey, what's the best way to stretch our dollar? When is it important to invest and put more money into something? And it's a good way like that. We also have like a mock stock trading thing that we have them go through, where it pretty much takes them from 0 to 100 years old, and they do different investments, and then it simulates the investments over the years. So like every 20 minutes, I believe it's 5 years. No. It's not. It's like I think every 5 minutes is 5 years. So it progresses pretty fast, and they actually get to see the money growing, shrinking, and all this stuff. So we'll do a lot of things like that as part of this, where it's not the whole class, but for about 15 or 20 minutes of class, we're really focused heavy on whatever the life skill is, okay, and really digging our fingers deep into understanding this and learning how it works. And then the other 40 minutes of class is athlete development. Okay, so we are treating these guys like they are professional athletes, in the sense that the conditioning, the training, and everything they're going through just helps them to be even more proficient at the core curriculum, while at the same time challenging them with some harder moves, harder combos, and harder level of intensity in their training. And we push our regular students pretty hard, but this class, like their warm-up would probably be tough for a lot of like new students to even do, which is fine because there's no new students in this class. But the whole focus of class is athlete development, with really deep diving into the life skills and teaching them how to implement those things in their own life throughout that 12-week session. So I know that was a long answer, but that's sort of where we've moved with it. So we still do 12-week seasons, so it matches everything else. We also will always have our upgrade program, our legacy team, perform at each graduation, because we're putting them through way more intense workouts. They're getting a ton more reps than the average student. So when they perform at graduation, it's a high level of performance that all the other kids look at and like, man, I can't wait to be in Legacy. Can't wait to join that program. And then I would also just make sure that you have a different type of uniform for your Legacy students. So ours is more a jiu-jitsu looking uniform that they get right now. Made of ripstop material. We order it from Fuji Custom. When we switch over to Move Martial Arts officially, okay, it's gonna be upgrade uniform. We'll call it uniform in quotes, unlike anything you've seen from martial arts before, which I'm sure we'll get some people talking shit about it, but that's okay. I encourage it. All right, next. How many hours per week does someone teach or assist in order to have a free membership? At our school, if they teach 1 hour a week, their membership is free. So no matter what level of employee they are or team member they are, if they are on payroll, even if it's an hour a week, they get their training membership for free. Okay. If I think about like any other like type of fitness place or gym membership, if you work at that gym, you don't pay it for a membership, whether you're part-time or full-time. Okay. Same thing is true. Like if you train at most boutique fitness gyms, okay, you get to go train for free whenever you want. And in fact, we actually pay our team members to train once per week. So one of their classes they go to, they get to clock in for that class and actually get paid for that training. And then obviously we want to encourage them to train at least 2 or 3 times a week, like not just with the staff, but like going to classes. But we're going to incentivize to do them by paying them for at least once. And it's required for every single team member to take at least 1 class per week minimum. Okay, and obviously we don't want our team just doing the minimum, but we will pay them for that minimum 1 time per week. But yeah, it shouldn't matter part-time, full-time, whatever. they should get a free membership. Okay, they shouldn't have to pay to train at the place that they work. It also will add more value to them staying with it long term, knowing that they don't have to pay for their membership and they get it free. We even will go one step further. So we actually give all about the equipment away at cost for part-timers. Okay, so if they need to buy sparring gear or whatever, they just pay what we pay for it. Full-timers get all their equipment for free. Apparel, and everyone on the staff gets like apparel for free. So when you have a new t-shirt, everyone gets it. New uniforms or something like that, everyone gets it, because the students are going to purchase it if they see the people they're looking up to wearing it, which means the more my instructors wear it, the more items we sell in our pro shop as well. So it's a win-win. All right, this question, should I hire a full-time admin or full-time instructor first? Good question. So the way I always think about this is I want to hire to my weakness first, okay, because that's going to help us to grow the fastest. So if it was myself in this situation, I know that organization is not my strong suit, okay? Like I'd much rather have someone super organized, handling all the leads, bringing up people, making notes in people's file and Spark and all of that stuff than me doing that. Like I'd rather probably be on the mat teaching if I had to choose, just for me personally, because I know that I can kick ass teaching classes all day, every day, and make sure that every single student on the mat has the best experience in the world. I know that I can do better at that than I can at customer service. Again, just me personally, and I'll enjoy it more. So I would hire for admin. Now, if you don't like being on the mat and you hate doing that and you love calling leads, you love ringing up people, having phone calls with people and doing the customer service part, and you're really good at it, then again, hire it to your weakness. So bring someone on that's gonna be a kick-ass instructor on the mat. Okay, the problem with most earlier level entrepreneurs or people that maybe are just getting new in the hiring process is they tend to hire people that they would be friends with, or people that they see themselves hanging out with, which is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can have in hiring, because all of a sudden you just start hiring people that are carbon copies of you, okay, which I never really see that work well. So again, just focus on hiring to your weakness, and for every person listening to this podcast, it might be different for each one of you, okay? Are you hiring front desk? Are you hiring full-time? But yeah, hire to your weakness, absolutely. All right, next question. Adam, I'm changing curriculum. I'm moving to less katas. Should I wait until the new year to launch or rip the Band-Aid off? So this is a good question. If you're changing over curriculum, best way to do it, I don't believe is rip the Band-Aid off. I believe it's slow progression over time, rolling out the changes. So for example, if I change, I'll just use MX as an example. When we changed the curriculum at MX to be more Muay Thai, kickboxing, point fighting, mixed based, we didn't just change it for every single class at once, okay? Because here's the thing, when you do that, it's really hard to go back and make any adjustments or changes to the curriculum right after you change it, because then everyone's like, oh, he's changing it again. Like, are we ever going to have a set in stone curriculum? So for us, we wanted to do it with the white belts first. So we rolled it out for our white belts for a 3-month season, and then our goal originally was, hey, let's look at this and debrief every week after we go into this, and also after the 3 months, and see, did it work? What are things that we should do differently? Are we going in the right direction? Because really, if the white belts go into beginner class and we go back to doing forms curriculum instead of Muay Thai, it's not like they're going to be totally messed up from it. So we use white belts first as sort of the testing. And also, they don't know any different, right? So they have nothing to compare it to. So it's a good group to start with. So I'd say start with your white belts, especially if you have a white belt class, roll it out to them first. And then what we did is we just planned on following that group all the way up to black belt as we rolled out new curriculum. So when they moved up to beginner, that was the first season of beginner doing our new style of curriculum, our new structure of curriculum. And then as they kept moving up, then we instituted the next one. And the other thing that's really nice about doing it that way is you're not having to rewrite class plans for 4 different sets of classes all at once. You can just do it a little bit at a time. Okay. The other option to this that I think would work just as good is if you just start with like your little kids program. Revamp that program first with the new curriculum, like break it down to the ridiculously basic, and then once you do that, then go to white belts, and then so on. But for us, it was probably one of the smoothest ways to transition curriculum. We didn't have any kickback from students, okay? 2 staff members were upset that we didn't have forms still, which I get it. And if it was younger Adam who was obsessed with forms, I would have been upset as an instructor too if we weren't doing forms anymore. So it happens. I have no hard feelings about anyone that wanted to leave because we weren't doing forms anymore. But on the student side of it, not only did we not lose any students after switching over, our attrition got better. And it was funny, when we got to intermediate class, the first season of them not doing forms anymore, we had a couple of parents come up to our manager and be like, hey, are you guys doing forms next season? And our manager was like, no, we're actually keeping this curriculum style. They're like, oh, thank you so much. Like, we're so glad that there's no more forms because we see the kids performing better or getting more reps in or whatever the reasoning was. So we actually had parents seeing the difference in quality on the mat and actually asking to never do forms again, which good problems to have when you switch your curriculum. But definitely don't rip the Band-Aid off. Patience is super important with rolling out curriculum. And the other thing to remember is when you roll out new curriculum, if you're like doing a complete change, it's also going to create a culture change. Meaning a couple of things happen anytime that there's a drastic culture change is, number one, you start to pick up more of the right people. Number two, you will start to weed out more of the people that aren't a good fit with where the school is going. So just go into it knowing that you're going to be shaking things up a little bit. There might be some changes, but it's okay if it's helping to match your vision for the greater good and you feel more fulfilled with the way you're going with your curriculum. Okay, next question. What do you think about different color uniforms for different rank groups? I don't know. I think it's a little complicated. I always think about like scaling, like if it's some of these questions or some of the questions you guys think of in your businesses, if your plan is to only have one location forever, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if your goal is to only have one location, then you'll be making different decision making than the person that's like wanting 10 locations at some point or 20 locations. When I first came into Arizona and started running the school, one of the things that I started to ask myself as we're building out everything is, Adam, would this work for 100 locations? Would this work for 1,000 locations? And if the answer is no, we wouldn't go that way because we have to think where we want to be based with our decision making. Does it match the vision of the future, not just where we are now? So for me, and I'm saying this because our goal is 1,000 locations, for me, it creates too much logistics changes and too much inventory to keep on hand for having different uniforms for every different rank. Like, I think belts are great to help differentiate rank. You can do like we give out a trophy when they move up from one class to the other at the graduation. Like, that stuff is cool. I think definitely have a different type of uniform for your upgrade program because those people are paying more anyway, and there should be something different that all the other students can look up to and be like, man, how do I get that? How do I wear that type of thing? So that's sort of my thought on that. I don't think you need different color uniforms for different rank groups. I would say simple is scalable. Okay, fancy fails, simple scales. So I always like keeping things as simple as possible. What do your younger belt tests consist of? Okay, good question. So our younger belt tests, they test on specific footwork. They test on their combo, which we call mixtapes at our school. So they test on their mixtape, and then they test on their basics and their fall. So the basics get tested on, and it's cumulative. Okay, so for the same year, they're pretty much testing on the same basics, right? The combo is for that season. Okay, but when you look at a whole year of our curriculum, so if you look at our entire beginner 12-month curriculum, they're pretty much working the same combo for the whole year with some slight different variations to it. Okay, and most number of kicks they work on in a year is 2. Like, as far as testing goes. So for example, like our beginner program, they only test on front kick. And then intermediate, they go to round kick and side kick, but we're still having front kicks mixed in with all the classes. So they test on round kicks and side kicks. And then when they get to advanced, they test on hook kick as their main kick. They learn for that. And then combos will start to change a little bit at that point as well. But it's not a lot, right? So the basics stay the same for an entire year. So like beginner, for example, at our school, they do jabs and crosses for their punches, shields for their blocks, shield and high blocks for their blocks. And then their footwork, they're doing forward, backward shifts, half circles and circles. And then their fall that they work the entire first year is back fall. So that's literally what they're testing on over and over again for a year. And that helps with the quality. It's not memory-based whatsoever. They're just throwing precise, clean, strong techniques. I would argue that if you're in our program for a year, your front kick is heads and tail better than most black belts I see at 99% of martial arts schools. And that's not trying to like toot my own horn. I've seen a lot of footage from other martial arts schools. I've done a lot of school visits. I've been to a ton of tournaments in my life. And the quality that we have now is unlike anything I've ever seen from any of my previous schools that I've managed or worked at, compared to a majority of schools. So I think less is more, and it goes back to keep it simple, right? What does a black belt test consist of at your school? So this is a good question, because right now our black belt test is still mostly comprised of our old curriculum, because we never made people go back and relearn new curriculums. We wanted to keep it fair, so they just test on all the curriculum that they've learned up to their black belt, regardless of what that is. Okay, so whether they're on the old forms curriculum or the new curriculum. Now, I'll go over a current black belt test and sort of where we're going with our black belt test now. So current black belt test, there is a fitness portion of it where they have to do a 1.5 mile run in a certain amount of time. The time is based on gender and also age. They have to do a set amount of burpees in a minute, set amount of push-ups in a minute, set amount of sit-ups in a minute as well. Those are all based on gender and age also, to keep it fair. They have board breaking. Our board breaking is super simple. They have to show us one hand technique, one foot technique, all right? And then the old black belt test, they do all 12 of their forms. They have 12 sets of self-defense skills. They have 24 sparring combos. This is old curriculum, okay? And then they had 12 count kicks, which are just technique-based kicks where we say 1, they chamber, 2, they kick and hold it, 3, they pull it back, 4 down. Junior Taekwondo, that's from that. And then their sparring rounds were 2 60 seconds, 2 90 second, 2 2-minute rounds. Okay, going to where we're going, sparring-wise, first degree black belt is going to be 12 2-minute rounds, 30-second rest between rounds. So obviously going more sparring heavy to match our curriculum. They have to test on all of their mixtapes from white belt to black belt. Okay, so they have, let's see, it would be 8 mixtapes, and then we have what we call our Super 8 hand combos, which are sparring combos of 3 moves each, and we're still building out our black belt test because we haven't had anyone get there with the new curriculum yet, since it's still relatively newer. So they go through all their combos. They test on all their basic kicks and punches. Okay, and then we do mitt training that they test on. They test on doing it in the air and showing us quality control, where they actually stick each move and show the technique. And then we also have them perform combos on the heavy bags as well, in addition to the fitness training. We don't have the new fitness guidelines for our black belt test figured out yet, so I don't have that to share with you guys yet. Again, we haven't had anyone test on it yet with our new curriculum. But as we roll that out and get that sorted, we'll be happy to share that. Adam, what are your thoughts on doing a fun 5 at the end of each class? So I think doing something high energy and something that gets them excited is super important for the last 5 to 7 minutes of class. I don't like the fun 5 concept, though. I like the intent behind it of like ending on something great and ending on something good. But fun 5 in a lot of schools turns into dodgeball. It turns into some game that doesn't actually help them get any better at what they're learning. It's just like why would you make the most fun part of class something that's not related to martial arts and then be surprised when they quit martial arts to go do something else? Because you're showing them that the only fun part of martial arts is when we don't do martial arts at the last 5 minutes. So for us, we do something different. We call it a level jump. And basically what we do is the last 5 to 7 minutes of class, we teach them something advanced that's like a higher level move, higher level variation on a combo. Like our intermediate students, their level jump right now, they're working on an overhand right, which is definitely a more advanced punch for their curriculum and where they're at. So we're sort of sprinkling that in. And then the cool thing that I see happening with this is getting them excited for advancing a belt rank, because they're getting little like 2 to 3 week previews on a more advanced technique that they don't get to learn right now. So it keeps them excited to keep progressing in the future. And since we're ending with something that's new and different, it's also challenging for them at the same time. So it's challenging them the right amount, giving them something new, fun, and different. And at the same time, it's keeping their eye on the prize of moving forward and progressing throughout. So that's what we do. We did a Fun 5 for the longest time. And I also saw that the other difference was when my instructors heard Fun 5, they're like games. Where when they hear level jump, it's like, oh, we're teaching them something advanced. We're teaching them something better, something to get them excited about the future. Okay, next question. We got 3 more, guys. How often do you let new students join in during the season? I don't want to hold off until the next season, but I also don't want to throw them into the middle of a season where they're going to feel like they're behind. We enroll people all season. So here's the secret to how we sort of do this. We have a white belt only class, which if we think there's 4 12-week seasons in a year, this class will repeat the same season all year because the only people in this class are white belts. So we almost use this as like our feeder class to get them ready to go in beginner. Okay, so they need to be in this class at least 6 weeks out of the 12 weeks, because we're just drilling basics for them to be proficient to move up to the beginner class. So as long as they have 6 weeks of training in white belt class, they can test out of it and move into the beginner class. But the white belt class allows us to continuously enroll people all year round because they're just doing basics, right? So no matter where we are in the season, if I plop a new student into that class, it's not like they're feeling way behind because the whole class is just working on basics. And they're not even doing combos in that class. They're just working basic strikes. So like jab cross, shield block, front kick, and a couple basic footwork pieces. That's it. Okay, so that's all we cover in that class. And it makes it really easy so you can keep enrolling people all year round. We tried it differently before. When we didn't have the white belt class, we'd always have to stop taking students during testing weeks. And then we'd stop taking students during graduation week. And then all of a sudden we'd have 3 weeks figure this, 4 months of the year, we had 1 week where we could accept new people into class. And it killed every single one of those months. So instead, this new format by having the white belt class that's there forever, like we can accept people any time of the year, and it doesn't make a difference. Okay, next question. Would you base your kids' curriculum off of the adult curriculum, or would you base your adult curriculum off of kids but more robust or in-depth? Good question. So I think it really depends who your target market is, right? Like if you are an adult curriculum, I would start with your main focus just building out the best curriculum possible for the adults and then shaving it down for your kids program because your adults is the main focus. It's almost like when you build a website, right? A lot of people do it ass backwards where they build the desktop version first and then the mobile version. Well, 87% of website traffic comes from a phone. So why wouldn't I build the phone version first and then take the phone version and optimize it for desktop? Since only 13% of traffic comes from desktop. It's the same thing with your curriculum, right? We're a kids first martial arts school by far. Okay, so I'd say we're 90%, 10% probably. So since we're 90% kids, we built out the kids curriculum to be exactly what we want to be first. And then when we originally rolled it out, we just had the adults doing the same curriculum as the kids. Probably not the best idea, but helped us to roll it out gradually like we planned. And then now we're going back and we're making the adult curriculum, putting a little bit more focus into it now that the kids curriculum is done, and making it a little bit more challenging version of the kids curriculum. Okay, and that's what we're doing, and they'll progress at a faster rate than the kids for sure, as far as going through the techniques and combos that they're learning. But with that being said, you always need to focus on whatever your core product is first, build that out to perfection, okay, and then build the secondary program out based on what you did for the first program. That's just my opinion. That's what's working for us. All right, last question. How do you handle your grading as it must not be memory-based? For your lower ranks, they obviously show off what they have done, but for your black belts, are they still expected to memory game all previous material learned over the years, or is it just, again, a progressional exam? So I think for us personally, the way that we have our curriculum structured, it's they still test on everything, but it's not memory-based. It's more like muscle memory-based at that point. For any of you guys that have trained like boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, okay, we know that there's not a variety of techniques, right? Jab, jab cross, hooks both sides, uppercuts both sides, overhand, okay, and then a million different combinations, put them together. So the memory isn't like them trying to remember combos. If we're like 1-1-2, they do 1-1-2. If we go 1-2-3-2, they go 1-2-3-2. So the muscle memory is there. It's just what we're looking at when we test them on our core curriculum is we have really 5 main categories we're testing them on for each belt. Okay, what we used to do is we do it like, all right, kicks, self-defense, forms, and we test it that way. We don't have forms in all those different categories now, so what we do is we do a little bit different. So we do it on, and I'm probably going to butcher this, my instructors know this way better than me because it's been a while since I looked after we built it out, but we still test them on memory. Like, they have to remember the correct moves to do on the call-outs. Like, they need to know what 1-1-2 is, or if that's what they're testing on, they need to know that part. They need to remember the combo that they're testing on as well. So memory is still something they test on. Okay, and then we have realism. So does it look real? We have power, we have speed, we have effort, we have focus, and then we have distance and timing as well. Okay, so we go through and we grade them 1 through 5 on all of those things. And it's really easy for the coaches. They just circle it. Okay, and then we have a computer set up where we'll enter their overall grade in the computer. Okay, and then we give the testing slip that we actually write on. We give that to the parent, so that way the parent knows exactly what they need to improve on. Okay, and for us, you need a 4 or better to pass out of 5. Okay, so we don't allow any middle of the road for our students, and they know that. And then testing is pretty similar to what all of you guys do as far as credentials. It's based on their personal development throughout martial arts, because everyone starts with a different talent level, different coordination level, those things. Okay, so it's based on their personal journey, based on what we expect for that belt level and their age. Okay, so we factor all 3 of those into the equation for what we're looking for. And then we do 2 weeks of testing out of every 12 weeks. So weeks 11 and 12, they just keep coming to the regular classes. We test them in their regular classes. And then the last Saturday of the season, so the Saturday of week 12 is our graduation. We rent out a local high school gym. We bring all the students there. Everyone graduates together. Let me see if I'm just missing anything. Black belts, we sort of talked about what we test them on. The new curriculum, they're testing on all their combinations that they've learned up to black belt, doing them in different formats, different paths, different movements, all of that, plus the 12 2-minute rounds of sparring. So I hope I answered that. But yeah, great questions, guys. I will open up on social more to opportunities for you to submit questions for us to answer on this show. We have some exciting guests coming up in the next couple months of this show. So I know I've done a lot of solo episodes lately, but we got some great guests focusing on everything from body mechanics to helping your students to develop emotional intelligence and really develop the skills that are going to make them successful grown-ups. We got some business podcasts coming up. We have one podcast guest that all he does is coach speakers on how to like kick ass on stage. So a lot of cool things coming up. So stick with us. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next episode.
To the top, we about to go. The CEO, I need to know the impact we about to grow. Competition.